Hello, everyone. Catherine Spitz-Cohan, Executive Director of Film Pittsburgh, and I'm excited to welcome Isabelle Couture today. She is the Associate Producer on the film Antigone. Welcome, Isabelle.
Thank
Why
you,
don't,
Catherine.
why don't you tell everybody where you are speaking to us from?
I am speaking to you from Montreal in the beautiful province of Quebec. And we had our first day of snow today. So we woke up, it was the streets were all white. So definitely going into the winter.
Was the film shot in Montreal?
Yes, in Montreal and I would say the surroundings. Yeah.
Gotcha. As many of our patrons might or might not understand exactly what an associate producer does, would you mind sharing with us what does that mean, or in this case, what did it mean for you?
Yeah, it can mean many things. That's true. You know, associate producer can be a title we give someone as mostly as an honor. You know, like mostly like a symbol for someone who was very, like very special, or who just gave a little bit of help. In my case, it's definitely more than that. Um, Full disclosure, I'm a documentary producer most of the time. Sophie de Raspe, the filmmaker, and I had made a documentary together previously, and that was a fantastic collaboration. And after that, she invited me to come on board and join Marc Daigle, who was the main producer of Antigone, and she wanted Marc and myself to join forces, which was obviously very flattering to me because I love Sophie's work. I think she's a fantastic artist, and I jumped on board right away, obviously, but it was my first experience as a producer for a narrative film. So I was happy to be offered this title of associate producer, which means that I'm not the main producer. That's, I think, important to state. Marc Daigle was the main producer, but I was very involved since the beginning, especially in everything that has to do with the content. So I read every version of the script. I was there from beginning to end. I was very involved in the casting process as well. So obviously, like I feel like a part of this team entirely.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the script? And then I do want to ask you about the casting, but the script and the name and the original Antigone story. What was the connection, and who wrote the script? Did Sophie also write it?
Yes, Sophie did. Sophie wrote the scripts for all of the narrative films that she's made so far. So she's an author director, like that's what she does. And I can speak for her because I know the story, like I've heard her tell it many times. But she came across Antigone, the original play by Sophocles, or actually she read the other version by Anouilh, Jean Anouilh, but she came across that play when she was a young woman in her 20s, and she was studying at university, and that was, she was struck by the strength of this character, of the character of Antigone, and it always stayed with her. She didn't even know that she was going to be a filmmaker back then, but that story always resonated very, very strongly with her, and she knew that maybe someday she would do something with it. She didn't know quite what it was yet. So she's had that desire to tell Antigone's story since many, many years. And I think, like Antigone is Sophie's fourth narrative film. So I think that it was the right timing for her to be able to do that film when she started working on it finally.
Well, as many of the people know we're assuming that people have watched the film and now they're watching the Q&A. You really didn't have to know anything about the original Antigone to follow along this story. It was a family drama and about, in my mind, siblings, which leads us to the casting. I thought that the young woman playing the lead, playing Antigone, was unbelievable. Can you talk a little bit about the process of finding her?
Sure. Yes, that's true. Naima is so talented, and we're so proud to having found her. So the casting process was very special for us because, first of all, well, I think, like you said rightly, that anybody can watch Antigone even if they don't know the original play, and that was very important for us right from the beginning. Like, yes, of course, there's this connection with this more than 2,000-year-old masterpiece. Um, but we wanted the film to be accessible, and we wanted to tell a story that would resonate with today's audience also, right? And one of the things we did to make it contemporary is that we set Antigone in a family of immigrants who live in Montreal. And like, this is such a huge conversation right now in Canada, just as much as in the US, is the representation on screen of a certain diversity, right? So that was on our mind right from the beginning. We wanted it to be authentic. We wanted the young people that played Antigone and her sister and her brothers to come from the community that we had chosen. And in our case, it was the sorry the a community from Algeria, but the country is never really clearly identified in the film, and that's fine as well. Like, you can say that they come from the Maghreb. Like, you do get a sense that they come from the Maghreb, and obviously we wanted actors that were also of that particular origins. So because there are not that many actors yet of that particular generation, because they're all pretty young, who come from that community, we wanted to go off the beaten track, right? We needed to kind of widen our spectrum and find them elsewhere. So that's what we did. We partnered up with colleges and schools, and we used social media a lot also to reach out to young people who didn't necessarily have experience in acting, but who had this desire and a talent, of course. And I want to say that, because that's another thing that was important for us making this movie, is that it was infused with this youthful energy. We wanted Antigone to resonate with a younger generation. And for that, we wanted to be in touch directly with that generation. So the whole casting process was not just a regular casting where you see, like, so many actors per day and are like, no, 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 yes. We actually, it was part of the research process. It was part of a desire to meet that generation and sit down with them and have a talk with them and understand what makes them vibrate, like what they are passionate about, what they care about. And I think that, like, you see it in the choirs, like what we call the choirs, which is all this youth that goes out on the streets to show support to Antigone, for example, like this kind of roar of la cité, we say in French, the city, the citizens, like all this youth that goes out to protest. The young people who are appearing on screen, most of them, we met them through our casting process, and they made it to the film not necessarily as our main actresses or actors, but they're part of the film also. They contributed to the social media that's around the film also. So yeah, it was such a rich process that
It sounds like it was, very unusual, and that everyone reaped rewards or benefits from it, so that it actually enriched the film. So, congrats on that.
thank you.
Were there any specific challenges or fun stories that you want to share from the set that our audience might enjoy?
It was, I want to say, there's always challenges, obviously, right? And making a film is a long process and takes many years. We are so lucky in Canada that we have, public support, public funding, agencies that help us make our films and make sure that they reach, that they reach an audience, and that they can live out in the world. So obviously, it's not always first time, you knock on their door first time. It's not always like they're not always going to give you the support the first time. So, but that's part of a normal process. So we had that, obviously, like we had to submit the project more than once before it got greenlit. But that's just because it was not our turn yet, right? There's a lot of people who are looking for this kind of money, and you have to rework on your script until it's ready. And then, but we knew that eventually, when we would be ready and when the film would be ready, we would get that support, and we'd be able to shoot the movie, because Sophie is well known. It's her fourth narrative film, and the institutions are really believing in her. So it was challenging, but I would say normal challenge. Um, and then, like, obviously, another thing we had to do a lot is rehearsals before we shot. That was very, very important for us, because obviously we wanted to go for the authentic actors. Most of them were not professional actors. Like all the family, they didn't have experience at all. Or Nahima had shot in maybe one or two things, but she had very small parts. So they were all new to this. So one of the things we did is we prepped with them a lot before actually being officially in production, before being officially on shoot. And I think that this was key to the success of, like, not just getting them to a certain level of acting, but really getting them to be a family for real, because they spent so much time together prepping and rehearsing even before we started shooting. And then on shoot as well, they really became a family. And I think that shows on screen. And that's one of the things that we're really proud about.
Yeah, it definitely does. So tell me, when did the film have its premiere, and how has COVID affected it, and what's the release
Yeah.
schedule for the film?
Well, we've been affected by the COVID, of course, but I feel that, like, we're still kind of lucky. The film was released at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2019.
So
So
last
we had,
fall.
yeah, last fall. So we had a good festival run, and the film was also released in Canada for like for a number of weeks before COVID hit us. I think it was a little more difficult when the film was released in France, because that was in the fall. So we had already gone through a certain period of lockdown, and we were kind of slowly getting into the second wave that we're in right now, and France being terribly affected by COVID, obviously. So that was a little more difficult, and that's, of course, very sad. And but we're all in the same boat, right? So, and I mean, the film has such good exposure beforehand. Like we won many awards in Canada, but abroad as well. And obviously, I think that when I say we're all in the same boat, I feel that we're all trying to adapt and do things like what you and I are doing right now, and making sure that we, like, there's still discussions around the film, and that the film can be seen in a different way, obviously. But I mean, we'll I feel that how can I say, I feel we're still kind of lucky.
Absolutely. And again, I am so grateful to you and your team for allowing us to share the film with our audience. It definitely was one of my favorite that I watched of all the films that we considered showing. And good luck to you and your team moving forward and getting through all of this. And thank you for your time today. I look forward to seeing future films coming out from your team. And to our Film Pittsburgh audience, thank you for joining us today. We will see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for showing the film to the Pittsburgh audience. It was a pleasure talking to you, and good luck to you also. I know that it's a very challenging time for a lot of us on a personal level, but obviously also with like events such as festivals. So we are behind you, and
Thank
we're
you.
very happy that we could be part of this today. Thank you.
Thank you.